Over 100 years ago, on October 31st, 1916, Brother Charles Taze Russell was traveling on a train as part of a lecture tour across the United States. Quite unexpectedly, and at the young age of 64, Brother Russell died. For years, he had been traveling continually. Do you know, it's been said that Brother Russell covered more than 1 million miles. Now, of course, some of you may have accomplished that feat, but at that time, of course, we're not talking about air travel. Brother Russell had to accomplish that by train and ship, and goodness knows what other means. Quite an accomplishment. In addition to that, he had delivered more than 30,000 sermons, lectures, and talks. He had written books and other material totaling over 50,000 pages. Yet, despite all of the privileges that he had enjoyed, his tremendous Bible knowledge, and the powerful way that Jehovah had used him, in just a moment, he was gone. It really illustrates the truth of what James says here in James chapter 4, verses 13 and 14. Let's read this together. James 4, verse 13 says, "Come now, you who say, today or tomorrow we'll travel to this city and we'll spend a year there and we will do business and make some profit, whereas you do not know what your life will be like tomorrow. For you are a mist that appears for a little while and then disappears." Well, that's true. You see, really, no matter what privileges we may enjoy, how skilled a teacher we may be, what knowledge we've accumulated, we're all just like a mist appearing for a while and then disappearing. Well, this is an idea that occurs over and over again in the Scriptures, and really with the purpose of encouraging all of us to take a close and sober and serious look at the way that we use our lives, and even more importantly, how we use them to serve Jehovah. In Luke chapter 12, you'll remember that Jesus taught an illustration regarding a rich man. Do you remember this? Let's open our Bibles and read it together. Luke chapter 12 and verse 16. Now, just before we read it, you'll remember that the purpose of Jesus giving this illustration was to emphasize the importance of being rich toward God. Now, let's read what he says here in verse 16. "The land of a rich man produced well. So he began reasoning within himself, 'What should I do now that I have nowhere to gather my crops?' Then he said, 'I will do this. I will tear down my storehouses and build bigger ones, and there I will gather all my grain and all my goods. And I will say to myself, you have many good things stored up for many years. Take it easy. Eat, drink, enjoy yourself.' But God said to him, 'Unreasonable one, this night they are demanding your life from you. Who then is to have the things you stored up? So it goes with the man who stores up treasure for himself, but is not rich toward God.'" Well, what was the problem with this man? In the 2007 Watchtower, August 1st issue, this illustration was discussed. And the Watchtower said that the rich man's plan provided really only a false sense of security. Practical as it might have seemed to him, it left out one vital element: God's will. The man was only thinking about himself, how he would be able to take his ease and eat, drink, and enjoy himself. He thought that because he had many good things, he would also have many years. Isn't that an interesting point? You see, he thought the abundance of things that he possessed would somehow equate to the length of his life. But the Watchtower went on to say, too bad for him. Things did not work out that way. Just as Jesus said earlier, even when a person has an abundance, life does not result from the things he possesses. Well, that brings us back to James chapter 4. Let's go back there again and look at what verse 15 says. You see, after commenting on how our life is just like a mist appearing, then verse 15 says, Instead, you should say, if Jehovah wills, we will live and do this or that. You see, the Bible makes it clear we should never, ever develop overconfidence. Overconfidence in anything, in our position, our knowledge, our wisdom, our wealth, but instead, you see, have complete confidence in Jehovah. Really, our only hope, our only confidence is with Jehovah. Now, this applies not just to our view of life itself, but really also to our view of all of our activities. You see, in that verse in James chapter 4, it says not just about our life, but about whether we will do this or do that. So it really applies to all of the different things that we do every day. Recently, we've been hearing reports of increasing persecution in various lands, including Russia. Now, when we hear those reports, perhaps we begin to think right away that this is something that could only happen in a faraway land. You see, in countries like the United States and Canada, those who are listening to this program, perhaps we have the attitude that, well, this freedom of worship that we enjoy is always going to be here, and it will never change. But it's interesting to consider what happened in one case in 1972 in the country of Singapore. On January the 12th, 1972, a missionary who was serving at the branch received a letter suddenly hand-delivered to him, saying that he was banished from the country and must leave within 2 weeks. Now, this brother had been serving there peacefully for 23 years, everything going along very smoothly. 2 days later, the Kingdom Hall was padlocked. All the literature was banned in the country. The bank accounts that belonged to the branch and to the congregation were all seized. Well, suddenly, and very unexpectedly, our work and all of our activities had been banned in that country. Well, now, what do we learn from this? Is it to teach us that we should live in some kind of morbid fear that our work is going to be banned at any moment? Well, what's the real reality of what happened in Singapore? How did those unexpected events affect our brothers in that land? Well, they were not broken. Looking to Jehovah with complete confidence, they continued to find ways to worship Jehovah. And Jehovah has blessed their efforts right up until this present day. So, brothers, it's true. As James chapter 4 teaches us, life in this system is really filled with uncertainty. But if we have made Jehovah our confidence, and if we are truly rich toward God, then really whatever may come, whatever situation may befall us, even our untimely death, we are completely and totally safe with Jehovah. And He is the one, because we have made our confidence, who will care for us in every way.